Fiscal fourth quarter results out from ARM Holdings, that chip-making giant, or chip licensing giant. They don't really make them. They design them and somebody else makes them, which is why this business is so profitable. I'm Cory Johnson, Chief Market Strategist from Futurum. And as we always say at Futurum, we think that semiconductors are going to eat the world. And we're seeing the fantastic success of ARM in selling their products in this quarter. And yet there's a mystery. And the stock market doesn't like mysteries. The stock market doesn't love these results right now. And although ARM has been a darling of late, Wall Street likes a beat or a miss, and this was a beat, and yet the stock's off. Why? Let's look at the numbers. $928 million in revenues is fantastic for this business, and an operating profit of $22 million, but with some adjustments and things, you get a net income of $224 million in the quarter. When we look a little bit deeper, first, let's think about what's going on in the semiconductor industry. And the company helpfully wants to illustrate these things with some documents they give us around the earnings. In part, they look at market share volume and where they are in terms of market share. And they are just growing dramatically compared to the x86 design that is the heart of Intel. And they can see themselves as really the dominant design in all semiconductors, and in also looking at lots of other fields. This was a business ARM that was once known just for their work in mobile. And while that's still the largest part of their business, they're in auto, they're in cloud and networking, they're in the Internet of Things, and lots of consumer electronics. And the result is they've been able to sell their licenses to lots and lots of customers with fantastic gross margins, as I mentioned. And when you look at where their business is going, you see some really nice growth. And indeed, the guidance they gave the street, maybe not as much as growth as Wall Street would have liked, but guiding to somewhere between $850 million and $900 million in next quarter's revenues. Now, you look at the sell-off in the stock after hours, yeah, it sold off real quick, falling about 2%. So not terrible, but indeed, after the fantastic year this stock has had, up 107% since its IPO only about 9 months ago. Now, there was a mystery last quarter. The street loved the numbers last quarter, but I looked at it and thought, wait, almost all the growth is from related parties, and most of that related party is a thing called ARM China. That's just weird that all the growth would be sitting in that one unit, even though it's a small part of revenues. And you could see that related party growth swell in the third quarter, the fiscal third quarter, the December quarter for this company. Well, when you look at the growth rates for their much bigger external customer business and their smaller related party business, which is mostly ARM China growth took a nosedive, and the external customer business picked up quite a bit. So CFO Jason Child, an alumni of Splunk and Groupon, where he was CFO of both those companies prior to this, he was asked about what's going on with ARM China and these growth rates.
I would say there has been a little bit of recovery in China in the handset market. It was up, 1.5–2% or so year on year, going back to the December quarter. So a little bit was just the general market. But the bigger impact was, I would say, the mix shift of the Chinese consumer buying from, I would say, OEMs or partners. Our revenues are based not on where the customer is, but based on where the partner who effectively sold the products was. So basically, there was a transfer from Chinese customers buying from Chinese, producers versus someone from outside of China. And so what that shows up as, from a royalty perspective, a shift from rest of the world to related parties. And by the way, related parties is mostly China. There are other parties in there as well. Now, in terms of the March quarter end, you will see similar trends. The rest of the world did accelerate. We saw a pretty significant royalty acceleration from, 11–12% back in Q3, and it was 37% in Q4. So there is broad-based increase across the world, but you are going to see more acceleration also in China for really the same factors that we saw back in Q3 as well.
So I'm going to flag that it's just something to keep an eye on with this company to try to understand what's going on in China, particularly with the tensions between China and the rest of the world, and what technology is allowed to be sold in China by companies that are based in the rest of the world, as ARM is. All right, I want to dig into this number. Just let's summarize these results, and I'm going to give you one number to remember that's going to tell you everything you really need to know about this earnings report. from ARM right after this.
The Drill Down is brought to you by Futurum Group, where analysts, researchers, advisors, content creators, and marketing experts help business leaders anticipate and understand shifts in their industries and build strategies to leverage disruptive innovation. With deep analysis, Futurum Group's extensive industry experience delivers reliable research and data, thought leadership, and actionable advice to help you with your strategy and go-to-market efforts. Futurum Group.
Fiscal fourth quarter results from ARM. Here's what you really need to know. The company had $928 million in revenues and $224 million in profits, even though the operating profit was a lot smaller, some adjustments there. So a business is throwing off some profits now, but the most important number, the bite, the one thing you want to remember that tells us a whole lot, and that's the growth rate. 47% top line growth for this business. So the stock has been insanely expensive, but that's with a growth rate like that, and indeed with 95% plus gross margins. What a business. All right, thanks for listening to Drill Down Earnings. Check me out on X at Cory TV. You can see us on TikTok and Instagram at Drill Down Pod. And of course, the YouTube page, YouTube channel for Futurum Group has all kinds of great stuff. Leave some comments, tell us what you think. Drill Down Earnings, part of 6.5 Media.